Hey guys, Nick again from Security Pros, and today we're working on search and playback. This is probably one of the most important features of your security system. I mean, in all honesty, you purchased the system to watch the videos, right? So yeah, let me show you how to do that. So first thing we want to do is we want to start by right-clicking anywhere on the screen, and we're going to go to Main Menu. Once we're on the Main Menu, we want to select the Search option at the top left-hand corner. Please take note that this particular firmware version says search. There's a few different models out there over the years, and some of them will say video, playback. Mine here says search. This is the newest version, so hopefully you're on the same or something similar. But it's always located towards the top top left-hand corner. So yeah, mine is called search. Yours might be called something different, but it will give you a brief explanation to record and playback. There's going to give you a brief description there. So I'm going to click on search. We're going to be greeted by this first menu here. The way that we want to read this is the top right-hand corner. The very first place you want to take note is going to be the calendar. This particular unit here has 2 days indicated by the little dots under the date. So July 20th of 2022 and July 21st of 2022. These are where we're going to find our recorded video. Now, if this had been plugged in for some time, you might see that there's a few days here with dots. Depending on your firmware version, you might actually have highlights in blue or green. There might be some other indications that there are some recorded video. Mine here has a little dot. So this firmware version is indicated by a dot. And once we click on that dot, we want to select a camera from the list below. And you'll also see the timeline below populate some recordings. Camera number 1, you'll see that there is some green here. This is indicating that there was some 24/7 recording on July 20th. So I'm going to go ahead and just click anywhere in this timeline, and we're going to see some playback video. Now, there's a few things that we can do here. We could double-click on the playback video, and that's going to full screen it. We can double-click again and get it a little bit larger, and double-click one more time. Coming back to the single view, we have a few different options at the bottom. We can pause the video, we can stop the video, we can play backward, we can slow the video down frame by frame, we could fast forward the video, and since we have multiple days, we can skip a day or go back to the previous day. Really big feature here. This is the one that I really like. So right now at the bottom, you'll notice that it's a 24-hour timeline at the bottom. At the bottom right-hand side of the screen, we have a few different options. We can change the view to a 2-hour, essentially zooming in to the timeline. So if you notice, when I clicked on 2-hour, now we're zoomed in to just a 2-hour period. And if we go a little bit deeper, we can go a 1-hour and even a 30-minute. And what this is going to do is kind of help us narrow down to the second where we want to view and play back. And why it's so important to be able to narrow that down is that we have an option to back video up from here. So say something happened in between, let's say, I don't know, this time here to 2148. So we're going to click on this little video clip. So when I click on this once, it's going to enter in the very first time. So I'm going to click on that, and you'll see 21:45:13, and we're still rolling here. We're still playing back. Now we want to clip let's do a 3-minute video. So I'm just going to go ahead and skip ahead. And you'll notice our very first time frame is 21:45:13. I'm going to skip ahead about 3 minutes here. And I'm going to clip it again. So the second time I click it, you'll notice that these zeros are going to turn into 21:48:05. So 21:48:05, we have about almost a 3-minute clip there. And now that I've clipped that twice, what this is our start time, and this is our end time. And now this save button has now appeared. So now we can click save. Our file right here. Our start time, 7/20/2022 from 21:45:13 to 21:48:05. There's the size of our clip. That's the channel that we're also backing up. And then you'll notice at the top here, I've got my USB drive plugged into one of the USB ports. There are going to be several USB ports. There's either going to be 2 in the rear and 1 in the front. Sometimes you'll have 2 in the front, 1 in the rear. My particular unit, I've got 1 USB in the rear and 1 USB in the front. This is one of our 16-channel Pro Series NVRs. So that's what you're mostly going to see, 1 in the front, one in the rear. So I've got my mouse plugged into the rear port. My USB in the front has a 16 gigabyte USB thumb drive, and that is what I'm going to be backing up to. If you had multiple devices, you would see them show up in this list here, and you just want to select which USB drive. Alternatively, if you don't have a USB drive plugged in or anything that's compatible, this is going to be empty. So you're going to want to make sure that you do, in fact, have some kind of a USB stick or an external drive, something to back up to, and it's going to have to be through that USB. So I've got my drive selected. I've got my channel selected. And I also want to select the file format. You can choose DAV file format or MP4. It doesn't really matter. Any single time that you back something up with one of our units, it's going to embed a player, a DAV player, if you choose this file type. So if you don't have a player that supports DAV natively, our player will support that. You can also select MP4, which is a little bit more of a common format. Windows Media Player, VLC Media Player. There's tons and tons of video players on your PCs and Macs that are going to play an MP4. So I'm going to select that. I'm going to select MP4, and then I'm going to click Backup. And what this is going to do is it's going to begin backing up the 65.50 megabytes to my flash drive. So let's go ahead and click that now. It's going to ask me where I want to put this. I'm just going to put it right on the root, and there we go. It's going to start. Gives us a remaining time of a few seconds. Backup complete. We are all set. So now what we can do is we can remove our USB drive, take it over to our computer, and we should be able to watch that, email it, save it to a cloud storage, whatever you guys want to do with it. It's going to be in an MP4 format. There's also another way to back footage up, and I'm going to show you guys that now. This other way works a lot better if you have larger clips to back up, or perhaps multiple cameras that you need to back up at once. So while we just went over the very short, easy way to make little clips, several minutes long, even a couple hours, not a problem. This second way makes larger backups or multi-camera backups a lot easier. So check this out. So in order to do that, we're going to back out of the search function completely. So we're going to right-click until we get back to the main menu. And you're going to find a section at the bottom right here called Backup. And once we've entered the backup section, the first thing we're going to see is the device name at the top and the storage device. This is going to be if you have a USB drive, a thumb drive, or perhaps a external hard drive. This is where it's going to show up. You do need to have something connected here, a USB drive. It does need to show up in order to proceed with the backup, but I'm going to show you how to get to that point. So the very first thing you want to do is select your channel number. Now remember, I only have one camera attached at the moment. We kind of saw that in the search. So so D1 is going to be the only thing that I'm going to search for. The type, if you know what kind of recordings you're looking for, whether it's motion or general, or if you have anything else defined, I'm going to just keep it default and say all recordings because I want to know everything that happened between these time frames. Mainstream is also set by default. This is the highest possible quality video recorded from the camera to the NVR. So we want to probably keep that on the mainstream. Substream is not enabled by default, so we want to keep that on mainstream to keep the highest possible quality. And the start time and end time, you do have to make sure that your start time is time before your end time. You'll get an error message if you don't actually have a before and after. So right now I'm just going to search the entire day from July 20th, 2022. I'm going to search from the very first moments to the very end. You want to see everything that shows up there. And then the file format, by default, is set to DAV. This isn't important, really. I mean, every single time you back up to, using a file format of DAV, what happens is we embed the DAV file player and DAV file converter. Every single time you back up, you're going to get a player and also converter. So I'm just going to do MP4. It makes it a little bit easier. MP4 is a more common file type, so I'm going to select that. Although if I select a DAV, it doesn't really matter because I am going to get that player embedded onto the drive every single time I go to backup. So you will have a way to play that if you don't have a DAV file player already, which most people don't. It's kind of a strange file type. So I'm going to select MP4 though, just to keep things simple. So let's click search, and we've got two files here. So it looks like from channel 1 we have regular recording type from this time to that time, and then this is the file size, and we can actually preview it by clicking play. We have a little preview here of exactly what was going on at that time frame. So I'm going to right click and go back. and we have a second file here. Now say I know for a fact this is the one that I want to back up, and this file is just not what I need. So we can unclick here, and that means that this file selected is only going to be the one that's backed up to the USB or external drive, whatever you guys have plugged in. And once we select our time frames here, we can select multiple or just select one or the other. Totally up to you. I encourage you to review them with this play button here. Once you're all said and done here, it's going to give you an idea of what kind of space you need. So it looks like I need 1.79 gigabytes. So we just want to make sure that whatever drive that we're plugging in here has the available free space. Go ahead and click backup. Once you do that, you're going to see a progress bar appear at the bottom. This is going to give you an estimated amount of time, how long it's going to take to fully back up that footage. Now, if you guys have a lot of files to back up, multiple cameras, this could take a little bit longer than what you're seeing on my screen. I'm going to go ahead and speed this up to the end so you guys can see what it looks like. And once that progress bar makes it all the way to the end, you're safe to remove the USB drive from your device, and you can go ahead and take that over to your computer or hand it over to the authorities.